man. Oh no! Good morning, welcome to another video with a guy and his projects. Today we are working on the 2004 Nissan Titan 5.6 liter 4x4 canteen green automatic transmission, and we are servicing the transmission today. There's two ways to play with your transmission as far as changing the fluid. Two main ways, I should say. There is a drain and fill, and there is a flush. Okay, two different situations, two different possible results. Let's explain the flush. The first one is the flush. The flush gets rid of 100% of the fluid in your transmission. You spend probably 12, 13, 14 quarts of transmission fluid. You start the truck up and you put one hose in a bucket of new fluid and one hose in an empty fluid, and it just kind of rotates it all the way through until you've got clean fluid. When you do a drain and fill, okay, you are only replacing about 2/3 of the fluid in there. 2/3, about 1/3 of the fluid in there. This holds, I think, is like 12 quarts. From my understanding, we can expect 5 to 6 to come out with a drain and fill. So you're only getting rid of, less than half of the fluid. But what I do on my vehicles, all my vehicles, I don't do any flushes. I've done one somewhat flush on a Honda before and it didn't work out for me, and the transmission ended up failing. In fairness, the transmission was already slipping, and then I flushed the fluid and she was dead. So it was already slipping. Keep that in mind. All right, so where were we? Oh yeah, so with doing the drain and fill, that's how I do all of mine except for that Honda, and I've never had an issue. I do it more frequently than you would do a flush. I end up doing a drain and fill every 20 to 30,000 miles, and my fluid stays nice, bright, shiny red, which the color doesn't actually technically make a difference, but my fluid always stays nice and clean and good, which also means my transmission is healthy. So that's what we're doing today. We're doing a drain and fill. Now, next thing. This is even easier than doing your engine oil because there's no external filter to get messy. You literally pop the drain plug, let it drain, put a new crush washer on, put your drain plug back on, and fill up your transmission. Super easy. Now, I've got 140,000 some miles on this thing, and I've never popped the transmission because I just bought this like 3 months ago. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the pan, which if you've never done, I would recommend you do as well. And I'm going to look at this filter. So this is not even a filter. It's more like everybody calls it a screen, and I agree with that statement. It's that, hold on, text message. All right, so where was I? Oh yeah, so this is more like a screen. You really probably don't need to change this. If you actually need to change this, then you probably have some serious issues. This is cleanable. I don't know if they say it's cleanable from the factory, but this can be washed off and cleaned and have a really good job done. However, that said, you also need to buy a gasket for the pan, unless you're using RTV. I like gaskets. And for me, to buy a gasket, you get a screen. I'm gonna pull this off to check the condition. That's where we stand on that. This should be the same process for the Frontier, the Xterra, maybe even the Pathfinder, the Armada, the Titan. Nissan's done a very good job about keeping similar parts and pieces. The exact size might be different, but the process is the same. So you guys really like the Nissan Frontier video I did on the drain and fill, where I don't think I went into the screen. If you don't want to check the screen and you just want to do a drain and refill, that will be part of this video. You just skip the past where I pull the pan. All right, so rambling on. Next thing we're going to talk about is fluid. There's a lot of controversy on what type of fluid to use: oil, engine oil fluid, your coolant, your transmission fluid. I don't really care what everybody else's argument is. Typically, I will say go to the manufacturer and buy manufacturer's transmission fluid. However, no thanks to Biden and Mrs. Harris, I can't afford that today, so we are going with the Valvoline Max Life. It says right on the back it's compatible, or actually it doesn't actually say it's compatible. It says recommended for use in, and then it says Nissan Infiniti, Matic D, Matic J, Matic K, Matic S. So it actually doesn't say it meets or exceeds manufacturer's recommendations, but it does say they recommend it for these transmissions. That said, take your own risk. I will link the Matic S down below. These take Matic J if they're older, but Nissan says Matic S is also compatible. So I've used this exact stuff in the Frontier before and a couple other vehicles. I've never had a problem after putting that in. Do at your own risk. Don't follow me because what I do means nothing to you, because this is me and my situation. Your situation is different and you are definitely different. So, let's get started. All right, so at this point, it doesn't matter what you're doing if you are going to end up removing the entire pan or just the drain plug to drain and fill. Either way, we need a drain pan under the drain plug because we're gonna start with the plug regardless of what you're doing ultimately. So I'm gonna grab my 19mm box wrench here and I'm gonna make sure I know which way it's loosened, and then we're just gonna pop this off. Okay. And it wasn't on very tight, so I'm guessing somebody either knew what they were doing or this is original and it's never been changed, and I'm thinking that's more like what it is it's never been changed. There we go. Splish splash. Taking a bath. So from here, we're gonna need to pull off these electrical connectors, which are zip tied in place, which means these have fallen off at some point. But there's one here, and that looks like about it. So we're gonna grab some side cutters, cut these tays, or you can pop them out, whichever you have availability to. Oops. Okay. No, not in the fluid. There we go. Okay, so those are disconnected. Okay, so at this point, we're gonna go through and we're just gonna bust these all loose. Make sure they turn, they're not seized in place. I'm not gonna take them off yet. Oops. Yeah. I don't know which way is lefty loosey. This has been evidenced multiple times. There are many videos. I think it's about time to buy some new ratchets. These things are all starting to wear out on me. Try not to dip your sleeve in the fluid. Okay, so these are all busted loose. You don't need to see me pull them out. I'm just gonna go zip them all out. Once they're out, we'll start the camera again. All right, so at some point, this thing is probably gonna wanna drop. So I'm leaving 2 bolts back here because I want it to drop this way, which is actually bad. I should want it to drop this way because the cross member's right here. So let me change that up a little bit. Let me put another bolt back here. So I want that to be the last bolt I remove so that the pan opens this way. Don't be wearing good pairs of pants when you're doing this. Or a good shirt. All right, let's see what happens. Yep, sure enough. So we already drained most of it, so the pan should be majorly empty. But still, just watch what you're doing. I'm gonna try and hold it up with my hand, see how successful I am. Lost a bolt, but that's okay. All right, so now we're gonna drop this down. Oh no! Wow, that just went all over me. That was a fail. Major fail. Oh man. Yep. Major fail. Let me clean this up and we'll reconvene. Now that you got the pan off after you clean up your miserable failure, you gotta get this gasket off. If somebody used RTV, you're gonna have to scrape it piece by piece. If somebody used an actual rubber gasket like it comes with from the factory, you might get lucky. This one is very old and it's very stuck, which tells me this is probably the first time the pan has ever come off of this vehicle. So we might end up scraping it as well. Get rid of a little extra excess there. So before you even do that, if you want, I know you guys are all excited to see the magnet. So these two little eyeballs here come off. They're just magnets. You're gonna pull them off. You're gonna wanna clean these real good. These are actually not that dirty, so if this is the first time ever, that's actually very promising. Yes, you will have metal shavings. Metal shavings are normal. That's why they put the magnet in there. Now, if you have, so this is more like a powdery consistency. If you have shavings, like chunks, that's not good. But just some magnetic shavings, everybody's good with. More towels. Okay, and we're gonna take this one off as well. Yeah, if you can. Superman fingers. Now we're gonna get something to scrape that off with. Okay, so I have these OEM tool gasket scrapers. I will link them down below. Anytime I say I'll link something down below, and then if it's not linked, it's probably just because I forgot. Just go ahead and remind me in the comments. In case you're wondering, even though I'm scraping this, it's still way easier to clean than RTV. And I'm messy. Too much transmission fluid on the finder. Alright. Just gonna take your fingers, make sure you got all the chunks off. You want a nice smooth surface, which we did. Yeah. I'm just gonna try and wipe her down with a paper towel the best we can. I'm gonna grab some brake clean, which yes, I can link it down below. You don't have to do this. This may or may not destroy paint. I don't really know. But this is how I do them all. All right, now we're gonna put this somewhere where it can dry. All right, now before we climb back under and forget, I'm gonna have to pull this all back apart. I'm gonna put these magnets back in, right here, and right here. There's two little nubs for them to sit on. I'm assuming that's just for placement so you don't end up messing something up in there. So you know exactly where they go, not difficult. All right, so this is your screen. I can actually see mine and it looks very, very clean. All right, so this is your screen, or the underside of it anyway. It's held on by all these bolts. So I forgot to mention, I've done this in the Frontier. I've done it in a lot of vehicles, including the 350Z. This is the exact same situation as the 350Z and whatnot. So if you need to see these bolts get removed, go ahead and check out that video. It's in the 350Z playlist, and I show you exactly how to do this without having to take everything apart. Moving beyond that though, so our screen looks amazing. You can see right there, it's very clean. You could take this off. There might be some debris down here potentially. Based off of how clean this is, I'm going to seriously doubt that. So I'm not going to even bother replacing this. Like I said, if you need to see the bolts get removed, check out my 350Z playlist. It's there. And I do it. It's the exact same situation here. Exact same. It looks identical from what I can remember. So we're going to go ahead and just put the pan back on and go with it as is, and we're going to carry on. So I've got a 10 millimeter with my little hand speed wrench. Yes, I can link that below if I forget, remind me. And that's how we are going to go attack getting the first few in here. Remember, your drain plug was over in this corner, and everything else should more or less fall into place. Okay, I'm gonna try and do this without getting everything filthy. Once you get your first 2 bolts in, it goes a lot easier. But you do gotta get those first 2 in. Okay, so that one's in just a little bit. Okay, now I'm not tightening those. You can see they're still really loose because I don't want to tighten them because then the gasket will get pinched out of place. Speaking from experience. So I want to get pretty much all of these at least through the gasket before I start tightening anything down. All right, now we're just going to go through, snug them all up by hand so we know they're all tight. So in here, we have new crush washers. So when you get this one off, you can't use your fingernails. You grab one of these little tiny screwdrivers. You can shove it up under the hood of the washer. You just start spinning it. If you're lucky, it'll grab some threads and you can spin it off. If not, just pry it off. There we go. Okay, so there's great debate whether you put the rounded side crush washer up or the flat side up. This had no leaks. The rounded side was up. Typically I do the flat side up, but it doesn't matter. As far as I know, I've done both sides leak free. I'm going to slide that on down and go back under. So at this point, we can go ahead and put our drain plug back in. We just put a new crush washer on. Oh no, I just threw it in the fluid. This morning is not going very gracefully. Hold on, let me go find it. Let me go fishing. So now we can take our drain plug and go ahead and thread it in. And we're going to tighten it up. So I don't know the torque specs. It's probably somewhere around 22, 18, 24 foot-pounds. I'm just going until the crush washer crushes and we feel solid. Just right about there. Nothing too extravagant. Don't kill yourself tightening it. And we're gonna leave it right there. So we are done down here, minus checking for leaks later. Oh, never mind. Let me grab some zip ties and zip tie that back together. I'm not gonna cinch that down super tight. I'm gonna try it again. I'm not gonna cinch that down super tight because I don't really want to pinch the wires. We're just gonna hold it in place. So this is your transmission dipstick tube. You've got your oil fill port, you have your oil dipstick, and then right above it you have your transmission, which is bolted in by a 10 millimeter bolt. This bolt is unnecessary. Why it's there, I don't know. I think it's just Nissan trying to keep people out of it. I really don't have an answer for why. I can tell you what, on the 350Z and the Nissan Titan, I pulled this bolt and I never put it back in. So do with that as you please. For me, it's coming out. And then you can pull out your transmission dipstick, which shouldn't have anything on it really because you just emptied it. Put that right over there. All right, that one will work. That's gonna take all day to use, but it'll work. All right, so we are going to measure what came out and we're going to fill up accordingly. However, in the meantime, I want to go ahead and just get this filled up a little bit first. So we're going to put in the first 3 quarts and then we'll measure and see how much is left. We're probably going to need at least 5, I'm guessing. Measure exactly how much came out, and that'll be a good starting point for putting it back in. I've already used 4 quarts. So that's 1 quart, and then there's just a little bit more plus the half a quart we spilled on the ground. So then back to over here, Well, it looks like we used about 4.5 quarts. So we're gonna dump 4.5 back in. That's about 4.5 quarts. So button this one back up. Take this funnel out and let it go drain into the paper towel. And we're gonna put our dipstick back in. Doesn't want to go in that way. Put it in the correct way, maybe it'll go in. Ah, there she goes. Like I said, I'm not worrying about the bolt holding in that. So now, in order to check your fluid level, you're supposed to take this on a drive, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. You want to get it hot, but not boiling hot. And then you're going to park on a flat spot. Leave it in park, leave it in running. Leave it running in park. You're going to pull your dipstick tube out and check your level, and that's how you're going to determine if you've got the right amount in or not. If you put too much, you can crack the plug, drain a little bit. If you don't have enough, you can just dump some more in. Whether you put the bolt back in the dipstick or not, that's up to you. It doesn't matter to me. But that's where we're at, and that's what we did. It was about 4.5 quarts. I felt like it was more. I don't know why. But we'll go see how this did, and yeah, if you guys liked what you saw, make sure you leave a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. I've got a playlist going on this Titan. It's going to be growing fairly big, fairly quick, and well, there's already some stuff there as well now, by the way. So anywho, where was I? Subscribe, thumbs up, share, keep watching, and yeah, we'll see you next time.